Now, what we saw from Mitch McConnell in voting against Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, and RFK was just flat out wrong. You should expect a senator from Kentucky to vote for those nominees to advance the America First agenda. If I was in the Senate, I would have voted for those nominees because I recognize it reflects your values and it supports that agenda.
So that is Daniel Cameron, the Kentucky Senate candidate now running for Senator Mitch McConnell's U.S. Senate seat.
McConnell is bringing his 4-decade Senate career to a close, announcing he is not seeking re-election in 2026, opening the pathway there. Republican Kentucky Senate candidate and former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron is joining us. You just saw him on video. Good to see you, Mr. Cameron. Thanks for joining us. It's always good to see you. So we just heard you talk there about Mitch McConnell, calling him out for no votes on the cabinet picks by President Trump. Talk to us about why you decided to get out in front of this and maybe make this choice to move forward with your candidacy.
Well, look, I think it's important for your viewers and the voters here in Kentucky to know where I stand on particular issues. And I've said, whether it was speaking at the Republican National Convention in 2020 for President Trump then, or endorsing him for re-election in his most recent bid, or standing for the America First agenda, I've always had his back. And I wanted Kentuckians to know that I'm going to support the America First agenda as the next senator of Kentucky. I think it's an important thing for folks to know, and wanted to make that clear to everyone who's watching and paying attention to this race.
Yeah, it's different, right? Because we've heard of sort of the GOP establishment, Republicans, perhaps Mitch McConnell would fall into that category here. But MAGA is relatively new to the scene. And you yourself have even mentioned McConnell as a big role in your career path, acknowledging him in your acceptance speech as Attorney General of the state of Kentucky, saying at the time the senator had changed the trajectory of your life. But now we're seeing this sort of differing viewpoint. Can you explain maybe to the viewer why you've come to where you are today?
Well, look, as I've often said, that I hope my candidacy represents a merger of a lot of different lanes, whether you find yourself as a Trump MAGA Republican, whether you find yourself as a libertarian Republican, a constitutionalist. I think I can bring the party together. And that's ultimately what my candidacy represents, someone who can articulate the values and principles of the America First agenda, do it in a way that isn't disparaging of a person or their character, but talks about differences in policy. And I will continue to do that. I think that, again, it's important for the voters to know. But I've got a track record. Look, I'm somebody who was the first Attorney General in the nation to oppose ESG and say that if you are a board member of a pension here in Kentucky, you got to look out for the firefighters, police officers, and teachers rather than ESG. I've been a vocal opponent of DEI. I've preserved our constitutional rights here in Kentucky. And that's what I want to bring to the United States Senate, a new perspective, looking forward, also making sure we're representing and supporting that America First agenda, securing our border, tackling inflation, looking for ways to advance cryptocurrency. I mean, these are issues that, Kentuckians care about. And I want to be on the forefront of helping lead and support President Trump in the United States Senate.
Yeah, and obviously the political landscape, I mean, what a shift has happened since this presidency. You mentioned ESG and DEI, and then you see some of this gutted from major corporations and obviously the federal government as well. But for you, you mentioned Attorney General. This is your third statewide campaign for office. You were endorsed by Trump in your gubernatorial run back in 2023. And so now running for this Senate seat and announcing that. I'm actually curious, Daniel, have you spoken with Senator McConnell about this move? Because obviously he's not seeking re-election, so maybe he would back someone in his seat. And would you be interested in perhaps an endorsement from McConnell, or does that not matter to you?
Well, look, I'm interested in an endorsement from the folks here in the Commonwealth, and obviously want their support and help in this road. There's been some good polling for us that demonstrates I'm about 30 points ahead of the other presumed candidates in this race. I think that sets me apart, and that a lot of people are talking, but I've taken action in my tenure as Attorney General, and